Kevin is a character that I really don't know much about. He kinda just randomly emerged as a leader of another faction. With the memories of companions, the will entrusted to all, to the promised future for all. This is the motto of the World Serpent, which Kevin leads. The motto ties into the goal of the organization, which is Project Stigma, basically forcing a small percentage of people to develop stigmas by exposing them to Honkai energy, similar to the Nagasora outbreak that resulted in Mei developing a stigma. Like Nagasora, it's expected that it would result in catastrophic casualties among those involved. By all accounts, it's a terrible plan, yet this plan is still being carried out, which resulted in the events of Chapter 14. Considering Kevin is said to be one of, if not the best, the greatest hero of the human race in the previous era, you can't help but ask, why is the hero of the previous era attempting what is basically a mass genocide? To find out, I dove into the game's manga, specifically Second Key. Once upon a time in the previous era, Kevin, who was a happy, outgoing student, took interest in a nerdy girl named Mei. The Mei from the previous era, not Raiden Mei. For the sake of clarification, I'll call her Dr. Mei. Dr. Mei is known for her smarts. One day, Honkai disaster struck. Dr. Mei was recruited by the Fire Morph, an anti-Honkai organization. Kevin, who at this point had grown pretty fond of Dr. Mei, offered to become a soldier of Fire Morph to follow her. During their time in Fire Morph, Kevin received many modifications, one of which a strong freezing ability, the unfortunate result of which lowered his body temperature to the point that forbade him from normal contact with humans, which of course included his beloved Dr. Mei. Kevin went on to claim many victories against the Honkai. As we know, the previous era was eventually destroyed by the final Herrscher. Kevin, who survived the final battle, returned to find out that Dr. Mei had succumbed to Honkai infection. This left him heartbroken, starting his descent into who he is in the storyline today. Dr. Mei left contingency plans in case everything went south, which it did. These plans included things like putting survivors in cryogenic sleep and the notorious last resort plan, Project Stigma. She entrusted the surviving humans to carry out these plans, calling them the Pioneers. They are tasked with helping the future Current-era civilization survive against the Honkai. By utilizing these projects Dr. Mei laid out, most of these projects severely backfired, even resulting in losses for the Pioneers. After witnessing the failure of many projects, Kevin decided to carry out the last resort plan, Project Stigma, with his catchphrase, "Humanity must defeat the Honkai, no matter the cost." With the memories of companions, the fellow pioneers lost along the way, the will entrusted to all, Dr. Mei's plan, to the promised future for all, the future where humanity defeated the Honkai. Being a plan of its magnitude, one pioneer, who is his best friend, attempted to stop him. This resulted in a scuffle that left Kevin sealed in the Sea of Quanta, where he would eventually be freed at the end of Chapter 12. Kevin's motivation for carrying out Project Stigma can be traced from that one time he stated the reason he joined Fire Morph was for selfish reasons, which was obviously for Dr. Mei. In his scuffle with his best friend, many arguments was brought up on the topic of Project Stigma. One important thing that were brought up is that the pioneers were basically acting as gods to the current era, as very well said by one of the pioneers. We, the pioneers, don't have the right to play God and decide the fate of this era. We told ourselves that they will have the right to decide their own fate, yet we also felt obliged to enforce our beliefs upon their problems. The people of this era have gained the wisdom to choose their own path, the courage to start their own journey. Kevin believed that even though Project Stigma would result in horrific losses for the humans of this era, it is still better than inaction. Kevin doesn't believe that the humans of the current era can survive against the Honkai by themselves. After all, even with a united humanity in the previous era, they eventually were defeated. Then how can these ragtag efforts of the current era hope to survive? Kevin wants to lead humanity to victory against the Honkai, with a total disregard for the cost. Part of his determination stemmed from his heartbroken history with Dr. May that made him into who he is in the current storyline today, the cynical and bitter hero of the previous era. Regardless of what we think, it's up to our characters to do what they must with Kevin. With his very insane plan, it's inevitable that there would be conflict down the road. Until then, that's it for today. I'll see you around.